Hello everyone, it's Kevin, and before I even knew what a good game was, I knew one thing. I love this. Rad Racer on the NES, one of the key childhood games that made me a gamer. It was this, Super Mario Bros, and Contra. I considered all three of them as classics up until today. And looking back at it now, yeah, I might have been a little blinded by nostalgia with this one. It is time to buckle up and power on to see if Rad Racer still holds up in 2026. You know what? Before I even get into the game, there's something I definitely didn't know the significance of as a kid. This game was made by Square. Yeah, that's Square. The same company that would go on to make Final Fantasy later that year. Square's story famously states that they were lost and they were trying many things until they released Final Fantasy. This resulted in many strange games, including this little arcade-style racing gem on the NES. Rad Racer dropped in 1987, and it was Square trying to tap into the arcade racing hype. Specifically games like Outrun. You know, fast cars, long highways, the whole Need for Speed energy before Need for Speed itself came out. And honestly, for the NES at the time, this was pretty impressive. This game was actually one of the first games that I remember seeing. It probably wasn't actually the first one that I saw, but I loved cars so much as a little kid that this one stuck. And I didn't own the game. My uncle owned it, and I had to play it every time I went over there. While it wasn't quite as iconic as Contra or Super Mario Bros, it was a game that I just got lost in. I didn't have to learn any crazy mechanics or controls, it was pretty much pick up and play. And then it was just me, the road, and trying not to slam into everything in front of me. Which unfortunately happened a lot. You know, as a kid though, this game really felt fast. I was convinced that going 200 miles an hour would feel this fast. And for some reason, that was enough for me. Before I even get into the gameplay, what's crazy is the director for this game was Hironobu Sakaguchi. The first thing you are presented with in this game is a car selection, a Ferrari or an F1 car. One thing I didn't realize until now is that the F1 car may have seemed like it was faster, but it was just a reskin of the other car. No matter what you pick, the gameplay is super straightforward. You aren't actually racing the other cars on the screen, you're actually racing against the clock, avoiding traffic and trying to make it to the next checkpoint before time runs out. And this timer is super stressful in this game. One mistake, one bad turn, and suddenly you're watching your time disappear along with your hopes and dreams.
You should have stayed on the road. You gotta get good.
The game cheated though. How could I possibly know that I would have went flying from hitting that one specific car at that one specific angle? Your only real options are move left, move right, slow down, or accept your fate. It actually gets kinda intense. You're barely weaving through cars, barely holding it together, and for a moment you feel like you're a beast at this game. And then you get headhunted by a drunk driver. This game can shut you down and humble you instantly. Now, the music in this game is actually kind of awesome, but maybe that's because the music was composed by Nobuo Uematsu. Enough said. It's got that 80s arcade vibe. It's super simple, but it fits perfectly with the speed of the game. And honestly, it's one of the reasons I keep coming back to this one. Because even when I was losing, at least I was losing with some good music. The graphics were pretty good for what they were and when the game came out. My only complaint is that the CPU cars are just reskins when you use the F1 car. It's why I always use the Ferrari. One final thing about the graphics that I'm not going to dwell on is the 3D option. It was pretty much useless and it wasn't even worth using back then. Unless of course you wanted a headache. Now, this isn't a perfect game, and here's where the nostalgia starts to wear off a bit. The gameplay loop? You're basically doing the same thing over and over. And at later levels, because it's just a time trial essentially, it's just faster and slightly more stressful each time. Along with that, the game can get kinda rough at times. It seems like from level 4 and onwards, that the enemies get super aggressive. It also feels like the timing is so tight that you can't make any mistakes or you're gonna surely lose. Okay, I get it. You want me to get good, but the problem with that is there are some inconsistencies in the game. Some CPU cars are aggressive and they can literally push you off the road, while some of them send you flying if you crash into them. Another thing I don't like is how down on the D-pad changes the music, as I accidentally change tracks all of the time. Now before I continue with this, if you enjoyed this kind of content, please make sure you subscribe for more weekly. So after all these years, going back to Rad Racer, is it still a great game? It's alright, but it's not the classic that I thought it was. But is it still a fun game? Yeah, for sure. It's simple, it's nostalgic, and for a quick pick up and play session, it still does the job. But it's also one of those games that remind you, sometimes what we loved as kids doesn't always hit the same way now. And you know what? That's okay. Rad Racer might not be the best racer out there, but hey, it definitely helped me get my nostalgia up to speed. And that's a wrap. It is time to reboot. I will see you on the other side.